guys, and welcome to AMC Mailbag, the all mailbag show here on AMC Movie News, where all we do is take your questions. I'm Ashley Mova, and if you've got a question that you want answered on air, send it over anytime to amcmovietalk@gmail.com. You could get it answered on our daily show, Movie Talk, or our weekend show, Mailbag, and sitting with me to answer some of those questions is the editor-in-chief of AMC Movie News, John Campea. John, how are you today?
I'm doing good. We actually just finished shooting Jedi Council. We're pre-recording this one on Thursday.
Scandalous!
Letting you know behind the curtain, we're shooting this Thursday, but I'm very excited to get going with my final weekend of mailbag shows.
Gosh, I know. All right, here we go. Eighth Wonder of the World writes, "Hey AMC, love the show. I'm ashamed to say I have never seen the Godfather films. I hope to get around to watching them soon, but was wondering whether you feel it would be more beneficial for me to just do part 1 and 2 and skip part 3. I have heard that it really lets the trilogy go with the character Sofia. So is it worth skipping this film just because of one character?"
No, absolutely. I have this discussion with people all the time about The Godfather Part 3. Look, there's no denying. Well, I mean, all film's subjective, so maybe you'd want to deny it. That's fine. But for most of us, we don't all agree. Even Godfather Part 3 defenders like myself will agree. Godfather Part 3 is by far the weakest of the Godfather films. No doubt. Was Sofia Coppola a train wreck in that movie? Absolutely no doubt. But let's not forget, this film was nominated for Best Picture of the Year. Now, was a little bit of that based on the momentum of The Godfathers Part 1 and 2? I won't argue that. I won't. But I still believe that The Godfather Part 3 is a very good movie and a really enjoyable movie to watch. And I think a pretty decent conclusion to the Godfather trilogy. Were there problems? Absolutely. Was Sofia a train wreck? Absolutely. All that kind of stuff. But, you know, there was also some really great scenes. And it's a very logical, like to me, a very logical playing out of the story of Don Corleone, of Michael Corleone, about, you know, when you live that life, what happens to you? It's not a happily ever after tale. And I really like the way that they were kind of faithful to that and followed that through. Could the movie have been better? Yes. Should the movie have been better? Yes. But I still believe it is a very good film with some, like I said, some obvious weak points, but it's still a very good film, very worthy of the Godfather name. Weakest of the trilogy? Yes. Should you skip it? I don't think so.
Recently, we've been talking a lot about these untouchable films and these untouchable roles. Do you think that The Godfather is one of those untouchable films?
I think The Godfather, to a lot of people, is one of those untouchable films. To me, there are no untouchable films. Remake The Godfather. I'm all for it. Doesn't matter. Make Godfather Part 4 starring Pauly Shore for all I care. I mean, it doesn't matter because it won't take away from the magic of the first three, right? And by the way, one of the first things that Eighth Wonder said in his email was, you know, I'm ashamed to say I haven't seen. Shame nothing. I envy you because you get to do something I can never do again, which is watch the Godfather films for the first time. So I envy you, celebrate the fact that you're that, but do correct this situation as quick as you can. You're going to absolutely thank me when you do.
And you do talk about that a lot, how the first 2 movies are better than the third, so people will automatically go ahead and say that the third is bad when it's not like just bad, it's just not as good as the first 2.
Yeah, it's very rare that you get, I mean, there are some exceptions. Lord of the Rings Return of the King is the best of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's up for debate, obviously, but in my opinion, it's the best of the 3. In my opinion, Return of the Jedi is the best of the original 3 Star Wars films. A lot of people disagree. That's fine, but I'm just saying to me. So there are exceptions to that, but yeah, there seems to be this rule of the third out there that the third film is generally the weakest of a trilogy, but there are certainly exceptions to that.
All right. Callum Joynes writes, "What are your thoughts on the Good Dinosaur teaser trailer that has just been released? I think it looks amazing. Pixar are back to their best."
Well, I mean, everybody knows I am a huge pixelite, right? Like I've said, I think I just made up a word, a pixelite.
I was like, is that a thing?
I think I just made that up. Somebody created a hashtag for that. Okay, so here's the thing. I have said for a long time that I believe that Pixar is not, I mean, maybe not in the last 2 years, but I said for a long time that I believe that the best studio in Hollywood right now, not just animation studio, the best studio making the best movies, period, was Pixar. They had a stretch of like, I think it was 7 films that were the #1 critically rated films of the year. I mean, just sick type of, you know, Cars and Cars 2 and whatever. They're so great. And a lot of people are buzzing. I still have not seen Inside Out yet. You're going to go see it. Well, by the time this airs, you would have seen already.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I'm going to go. I got invited by Disney to the world premiere on Monday, so I'm really excited. I've been dying for this. The word around Disney is that this could be the best movie that Pixar has ever made. And I've talked to a few people that have seen it, and they ain't denying it. So I'm super stoked for Inside Out. Good Dinosaur. Because it is coming from Pixar, I have high expectations. And the trailer was cute. Remember, I'm a huge Pixar fan. The trailer was cute. That whole thing about the meteor coming and then it misses the earth and all the dinosaurs look up. That was cute.
That was cute.
But it was cute. It was a little tiny teaser that they gave us. You know what? It's the type of trailer that I don't even call a teaser trailer. I like to call trailers like that an announcement trailer. Like, hey, by the way, guys, this movie's coming. It doesn't really tell us much or anything, that little meteor show. But I don't see enough in it. As much as I'm a huge Pixelite, I didn't see enough in that trailer to make me go, this will be Pixar at its best. It was one cute little visual gag. But because it's Pixar, I have no doubt it's going to be good. But I didn't see anything in that trailer, nor was there really meant to be in the I didn't see anything in that trailer that made my enthusiasm and excitement and anticipation of the film rise up anymore. It was an announcement trailer, did its job, one cute little visual gag, and there it is. I'm going to wait till I see like the actual full trailers come out, but I have no doubt it'll be good.
Yeah, and there was a date shift of the release. Does that mean that there's like trouble in paradise or anything?
Yeah, there's a lot of drama around the development of Good Dinosaur, where I think they even went back and like redid like half of it and stuff like that, which you don't often hear about Pixar films, but there was a lot of drama. Go online and search like Good Dinosaur development problems, and you'll read about all the stories that went on there. But much like we talk about, what was the zombie film with Brad Pitt? What was that zombie film with Brad Pitt that was just out? World War Z. Thank you, Dennis. Like World War Z, that movie was a development nightmare. They had to go back and reshoot so much of that. Everybody's predicting, well, this movie's going to be a big disaster. But sometimes scrapping a bunch of what you did, going back and fixing it and redoing a bunch of things is the right thing. And I thought World War Z ended up being a pretty decent film. And I believe that will be the case with The Good Dinosaur. I believe if they stopped everything, trashed a bunch of the stuff that they had, and redid a bunch of stuff they had, then they did it for a good reason. And I think we're going to see it in a good result.
I hope so, because we haven't gotten a Pixar film in a while. I think this last year was the first time we didn't get a Pixar film in a while, and I hope that they're going with that momentum
again. We're getting
again.
two this year.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Raymundo writes, I was just looking at the movies that have been nominated and won Best Picture. I noticed that most of them, over 70%, have been movies based on real life events. Why is that? Are those movies really better, or is the Academy biased and blinded by nostalgia?
Well, I think, here's the thing. I think the word bias is a word that's used way too liberally. Like whenever somebody says they like one thing over another and another person doesn't agree, they go, you're biased. Like it's like everybody just throws the word bias around like it's candy. They're like 14-year-olds who say, I love my girlfriend. Kid, you don't know squat. Just shut up. No, I love her. You've known her for 3 hours. But I love her.
Those are serious relationships that form you who to be.
I know. I'm not saying they're not. I mean, but it's like, I think people throw that word. They're biased. Do you know what bias means? I mean, a lot of people throw that word around, I think, too liberally. Right. But I mean, you're not wrong in the sense that when you do look down the list of the films that win Best Picture, there's a good number of them that win that are either true stories or based the very loose, based on true events. This past year wasn't one of those. I mean, Birdman won this year. But then you look like 12 Years a Slave, which is based on true story memoirs. You look at Argo, which is based on a true story. Not so much the artist, but The King's Speech. The Hurt Locker was based, maybe not definitively on a true story, but definitely around true events. Old Country for Old Men wasn't. The Departed wasn't. Crash wasn't. $1 Million Baby wasn't. The Lord of the Rings wasn't. So there are some that are not. But I think what happens is, I just think that movies, look, you cannot make up greater things than reality. I just find that the stories that happen in real life, that term stranger than fiction. I mean, the things that happen in real life are often the most amazing and fantastic and incredible or gut-wrenching and horrifying and all at the same time. these are the stories that resonate. And I think there's a part of it because we do know that this happened. This was real. This was true. And, you know, when you're watching a movie like, whether it's 12 Years a Slave, or I just saw the trailer, and I'm forgetting it's the one about the women in London fighting for the right to vote. I think it was Suffragette, I think was the name of it. But when you look at that and you realize this was real, it adds an extra dimension of emotional oomph to it, you know? When you're watching it, and really the greatest stories in the world are the ones that were real. Those really are the greatest stories ever told. And so you get these true stories, and nobody makes throwaway movies on true events. You know, it's usually when there's this incredible story or an incredible biopic or an incredible event that happened in human history. Usually you get filmmakers who step up and go, I want to tell this tale. I want to tell this story. And studios usually put a lot of resources behind those and give it the attention that they deserve. And that's why you end up with films like The King's Speech or 12 Years a Slave or things like that, because they were real. I really honestly think, you know, here's the thing, when asking that question, are they just being biased and are they just being, you know, nostalgic about it? I only think you can truly ask that question if you go down this list and find a bunch of the ones that were based on true story and say, that one shouldn't have even been nominated for Best Picture. Let's go down the list. I hear, even if you're someone who thought another film should have won Best Picture instead of 12 Years a Slave, I've never met anybody that didn't think 12 Years a Slave was a worthy winner. Maybe you thought somebody else should have won over it, but 12 Years a Slave is a worthy Academy Award winner. Argo, everybody agrees that should have been nominated and it was a worthy winner. Whether, even if you thought that maybe one other film should have beat it, King's Speech, absolutely, that was the best film of that year for me by far. You know, you run down these lists and once you start looking at these films and you realize it's not like Crash, right? Crash wins Best Picture and there's a lot of people out there like don't even like the movie that thought it shouldn't have even been nominated. Most of these films that are based on true events that won Best Picture, you'll be hard pressed to find a lot of people to say that, oh, that one shouldn't have even been up there. These are all worthy films up against other worthy films, and it came out on top. So unless like 12 Years a Slave, or let's say Argo, let's say Argo got nominated, won Best Picture, but clearly it was a piece of trash. And it wasn't, to me, it was the best film of the year, but let's say it was a piece of trash, then you can start making those arguments. But as you run down this list of the films that were based on true stories, and they did win Best Picture, they're pretty much universally by audience and critics alike praised as being truly great films, and therefore them winning the Academy Award, you can't go, oh, they just won because it was bias or nostalgia or whatever. No, they were worthy films and they won, so I have no problem with them.
All right, the movie I'm about to mention
All right.
literally could not be further away from all these movies that you've been mentioning and probably Raymundo was referring to, but
All right.
The Blair Witch Project.
Okay.
Based on true events. When I love horror movies, and when I saw that, I think I'm scarred for life. Like, I literally think I'm scarred for life. It was so scary. Because it said based on true events. How real does a movie have to be in order for you to say based on true events?
You know what the funny thing is? I had, at Star Wars Celebration in Indianapolis, this is going back years, I actually got to have lunch with the director of the Blair Witch Project.
Gosh.
And you know what? Fact checker Jonathan, can you look up for me? I don't think the Blair Witch Project is actually based on true events.
They said something
I think it's set up to look, I think it was set up to feel like it was based on true events. But anyway, Jonathan,
Okay.
can you look that up? Like how, unless it's like, oh, that town exists, therefore it's, but I don't really think it's based on true. By all means, Jonathan, just jump in and interrupt me once you got an answer to that. But I don't think it's like, for instance, the found footage tapes, those weren't real.
Yeah, because they went to go accept an award. I don't know, it's maybe 10 years old. And they went to go and accept an award and they went on stage. I'm like, this is not real. How are they accepting this award?
Yeah, it was all based around trying to increase that tension. And, you know, and maybe there's a part of the marketing scheme for that maybe there is some weird old, you know, myth or tale in some town, and they took that myth and tale and said, oh, let's build this movie around it and film all this fake found footage stuff and blah, blah. Have you been able to find anything on it, Jonathan?
It actually, it comes up and says that it's really more of a mockumentary because it is based on fiction. And then saying that it's just like any of those other mockumentaries. Sure, usually they're comedies, but in this case, it's horror, but it's a
being
mockumentary.
10 years old, I guess you form things to be in your mind.
Oh, you know, and if you
events.
haven't seen Blair Witch Project yet, there's no way you can recapture what it was, people who saw that movie at the time. We are inundated now with found footage movies. But at the time, Blair Witch Project was so different. It was really something that on a wide, nationwide level, we had not seen before. And I legitimately found that movie really creepy. Like really, really creepy indeed. But today, if you hadn't seen it and you watch it now, you'll watch it and go, what's the big deal? That's because you've already been so inundated and soaked in all this found footage stuff and all these horror films now that really owe a lot of influence to the Blair Witch Project. And in that sense, I think the Blair Witch Project doesn't get the credit it deserves, or maybe the blame it deserves for the way a lot of these horror films are going today. But yeah, anyway, that's how I see it.
All right, Showstopper writes, hello, AMC Movie Talk. I wanted to know how you guys felt about the casting of Beauty and the Beast, and if there are any changes that you would have made. I only have one. Gaston would be played by The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. Thanks for your time.
Do you think it's good casting?
Oh my gosh.
It doesn't matter what you knew that was coming. Come on.
I didn't. I didn't. Flashback to this week's movie talk.
But yeah, The Rock, right? The Rock.
Oh,
Isn't she gorgeous? I think that's Photoshop. Is that a real? Wait a second. Hey, is this a real shot of? No, I think maybe.
Seen her in
I think our wizard Ray.
Yeah,
Ray's at it again.
I think he put that together. Ray is amazing.
Ray is amazing. He needs to Photoshop me to look 10 pounds thinner.
I don't think that's necessary. But Ray makes these amazing graphics. But anyway, this casting is great. Now look, everybody knows how I'm totally into The Rock, right? I bro crush on The Rock. That is the most charming dude on the planet. Anywhere, anytime. He's just one of the most, that guy just bleeds charisma, everything about him. I think his addition to any movie lifts up a movie as far as its entertainment goes. I really, really, really do. I love The Rock. No. Not for Beauty and the Beast, not for Gaston. Would The Rock as a physical specimen be great for Gaston? Absolutely he would. He just looks like Gaston. I can see him, singing that song. Now as a man, I eat 12 dozen eggs or however many eggs he is. So I'm roughly the size of a barge. And he flexes and his shirt rips and you got The Rock flexing. That would look great. But look, they got Luke Evans to play it. Is he a lot smaller than The Rock? Yeah. And I'm sure they're gonna have to work him out a lot. And Luke Evans will not be the physical presence on screen that The Rock would have been. Luke Evans is a infinitely better actor than The Rock. Now, I said, remember, The Rock is no longer just all charisma and stuff like that. He has legitimately evolved into a truly serviceable actor who belongs on the screen. He's not out of place on the screen anymore. He's just that wrestler dude. He is a legit actor now. It's taken him a lot of years and a lot of work, but he's put in the work and he's made it. He's a decent actor. I really like him. But Luke Evans is on a different level. And not to mention that, but as far as I know, they're using a lot of the original music. For this too, the original songs that they're going to be doing. And I think these actors got to sing these songs. And I don't see The Rock doing that.
That would be kind of funny though.
That would be kind of funny, but I don't think that's what they're going for. And so while I love The Rock and I think he's great, I got to tell you, we talked about, as the casting announcements started coming out for Beauty and the Beast, on AMC Movie Talk, we talked about each casting as it got announced. And each time we were all just floored with how brilliant the casting was for each and every one of those roles. Whether it's Josh Gad as LeFou, that's still inspired casting right there. But everybody involved in this film, this is a top-notch, world-class cast. And I'm really excited about it. And as much as I love The Rock, he would be like that game on Sesame Street. One of these things is not like the other. I think he would have stood out. I don't think it would have been the right role for him.
So great. The one thing I've been thinking of every episode of Movie Talk where we talked about the casting is Emma Watson's accent. What are they going to do with her accent? Is she just going to speak the way she speaks? Or is she going to try to do an American accent? And I saw her on Letterman trying to do an American accent. It was the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. I mean, granted, it was like at the beginning of her career. Maybe she's worked on it. But even if she does try to pull an American accent, I know it's fake. I know that that's not how you talk.
Well, so's Luke Evans. I mean,
right.
So is,
I can deal with him having an accent for
Henry
some reason.
Cavill or whatever. But I have heard Emma Stone do American accents in film, and she's done quite well, actually.
Yeah.
She's quite. But here's the thing with Beauty and the Beast, even though it's supposed to be taking place in the hills of France, I don't think they need to hide her accent. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think they could be fine. They may go the way of having her hide her accent, but I don't think they need to. but they probably will. And if they do, I really do think she'll be fine.
All right. Louis Yonan writes, I love the discussions and info you guys share. Can we talk about Disney announcing not to go forward with Tron 3? They were just saying a couple months ago that it's happening and then just pulls the plug because of what? Tomorrowland's not so great storytelling / failure in the box office, or the not so great success of Tron Legacy. I feel as though with Joseph Kosinski still at the helm and everyone else coming back to reprise their roles, they could have finished this franchise off beautifully.
Okay, well, let's get the first thing clear. Disney never announced that they were moving forward with it. There were tons of reports of them moving forward with it floating around. But once again, that's the difference between there being a report of something and it actually being confirmed. Disney never said, this is greenlit, everything's a go. Now, they were bringing on writers. They were trying to put some pieces together, but that button, that green light, boom, official, go, that was never hit. As far as, it getting pulled, we talked about this on AMC Movie Talk the other day. I'm not surprised. I mean, I was expecting Tron 3, but I'm not surprised the plug got pulled. Look, the fact of the matter is that first film really underperformed, and not by other people's expectations, by Disney's expectations. They were expecting a lot more out of it. It still didn't lose any money, and it actually made a bit of money, but they were expecting much bigger and much better. And frankly, the reaction to Tron was not all that great. People didn't love the last Tron movie. People weren't flocking out to see it again or telling other people to go to see it. It was, and Schnepp and I were talking about this on air, that here's an indication that it was actually a little bit of an underwhelming film. When you ask people about, hey, that last Tron movie, Tron 2, what do you think about it? The first thing everybody mentions is Daft Punk. Is a sound. When that's the first thing you think about, well, the one good thing about it was the soundtrack. I mean, then it wasn't the story, it wasn't the visual effects, they did some very cool things in it. I, for one, walked out of the last Tron movie going, yeah, it was all right, but underwhelmed. I was like, that was all right. There was nothing wrong about it. I didn't walk out disliking the film, but it also didn't leave me with, I want to run out to see it again. I never did go back to see it in theater again. And guys know me, when I really like a movie, I'll go back to watch it in theater 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 times. And Tron was just one of those ones, just like, yeah, all right, it's a good time, and sort of a good time anyway. And then I didn't go back. And I think really ultimately that was it. Now, you pair that with the fact that Tomorrowland just underperformed. And I think that has Disney going, ooh, let's see, this just didn't work and we weren't real sure about it. Now we got this other one, this Tron 3 thing that we're not really sure about, whatever. But I do believe this. Tron 3 will happen someday. This year, no. Next year, no. 3 years from now? Maybe. 4 years from now? I do believe it's going to happen at some point, but I'm not shocked that they pulled the plug now.
The second one did okay at the box office. It did pretty well. How does that happen if people were pretty meh about the movie? Is it that it just didn't have competition, or people just wanted to see it because of the first?
I think it made that... Here's the thing. I think Tron 2 made like that maximum. And actually, fact checker Jonathan, can you pull up the box office numbers, both domestic and worldwide, for the last Tron film? I believe it hit the maximum amount of money for everybody going to see it once. Do you find it already?
Yeah, I already had it up.
What do you got?
172 domestic, 228 foreign.
So what was the worldwide total?
400.
400. And what was the, does it say what the production costs of it were?
170.
170. So it was right, just came over that break-even mark that we'd need to make, right? But I think the marketing for it was very good. And everybody was excited about it. There was a lot of nostalgia about it, blah, blah. And they did a great job building the buzz and the hype, and everybody went out to go see it once. And they didn't go back, and Brett, the other friends who didn't go to see it yet. And that was the thing. So, it just kind of made that amount of money, and it'll happen, but I'm not surprised it's not happening now.
All right. Gerald Y writes, hey guys, I have a question about casting for the movie Shazam. What do you think about John Cena being cast in the lead opposite The Rock? He has acting experience in movies like The Marine and such, and he's probably one of the only guys who could stand toe-to-toe with him and not look tiny. Also, John, I think I speak for all of us when I say we will definitely miss you, and thank you for all that you've done in creating this brand.
Oh, thank you very much, Gerald. Oh, hell no.
Thank you.
Hell no.
Thank you.
Hell no. No. He has acting experience. I have acting experience. You don't see me say, yeah, put me alongside The Rock. No. John Cena cannot act. And look, I grew up a wrestling fan. I went to WrestleMania this year. And I did. I'll watch a big wrestling event maybe once or twice a year. I still kind of keep my ear to the ground and all the big things. And I saw John Cena wrestle live at WrestleMania this year. And he's a hell of an entertainer. He's a great in-ring performer. He's not an on-screen actor. No. And now you put him into an actual real movie, unlike like a WWE movie, The Marine, you put him in a real movie against a guy who it's taken him 10 plus years to become a real legit serviceable actor in The Rock. He's just going to look silly. Here's the thing that I think a lot of film fans still really believe, and I get into a lot of discussions with people. The look is 10%. Really, when it comes down to it, the look is 10%. 10%. And to a lot of people, the look is like 95%. It's like, oh, that guy looks like it. Like people would say like Billy Zane. Who talks about Billy Zane? I personally like Billy Zane, I do. But who talks about Billy Zane? Nobody talks about Billy Zane. But when Lex Luthor role was up, look, we found this picture of Billy Zane with a shaved head. He should be Lex Luthor. It's like, you've never talked about liking Billy Zane as an actor before, but because you got a picture of him with a shaved head, like to a lot of people, the look is 95%. The look is something that can be worked around. The look is something that can be manufactured. The look is something that they can use narrative things to explain differences and changes and all that kind of stuff. Like Wolverine ain't supposed to be 6'2", but guess what? Now we can't even imagine Wolverine without Hugh Jackman. And when you realize that the look is just 10%, the other 90% is all the more important stuff, then you realize, oh, hell no, you don't put John Cena in a lead role in a potentially $700 million film. You don't do it. So, it's subjective. Maybe are those of you out there who think he can act. That's cool. From my perspective, he can't. And I think from a lot of people's perspective, he can't. And I think from the studio's perspective, he can't. So you're not going to see that happen.
I'm so glad you said that because it really breaks my heart to think of wrestlers as actors. I know that it's fake, but it breaks my heart to kind of, mesh those two worlds together. Right. And The Rock has done an amazing job of it, but he's also backed off from wrestling. Do you think that a wrestler could ever juggle both being a professional wrestler and an actor at the same time, or would it take audiences way too out of the movie?
It really depends. Look, here's the thing. The Rock, when he made that decision that he wanted to be a movie star, bold choice, my friend, but he did what needed to be done. He did the work. I mean, if you ever listen to him talk about what he did, like you can see in his body the work he puts into his body. He put that much or more work into learning how to really act. And he did it over the course of years and years and years and years and years. And he started off doing small stuff. Like really, they tried to give him that one lead in the Scorpion King thing, but then he did small roles too. He did whatever he needed to do to get that experience, get that on-screen presence starting to go and starting to roll. He did it the right way. Could he have done all that and put all that time into it if he was still had a full-time wrestling circuit to do? Because these wrestlers, I mean, they like literally work about 340 days out of the year. It's crazy. I doubt it. Is it possible? Possible, John Cena hits the road. He has a full-time, like a team of dramatic coaches that go along with him on the road every day of the year. It's possible. Sure, it's possible, but it took The Rock a good 10 years before I think a lot of us went, okay, this guy is now not just a wrestler playing at acting. This guy is now an actor. It took 10 years for that to happen. So I think it's a real tall order to be able to do both.
All right. Kevin D writes, hey guys, my question is about a Spider-Man franchise that I just recently found out could have been and your thoughts on it. I recently watched an old Howard Stern interview with James Cameron that took place back in 1997, just before the release of Titanic. His thoughts on its possible success are interesting, but when asked about what's next for him, he goes on to talk about how he's in talks to acquire the rights to make a Spider-Man movie. I love the first two Raimi movies, but but I can't help but wonder what could have been if Cameron had a shot at the franchise instead. What are your thoughts?
If I'm not mistaken, fact checker Jonathan, I'll have you look this up. I do believe that that Cameron did have the rights to Spider-Man. I think not only was he after, so if you can look that up for me, Jonathan, just let me know. I believe he did have the rights to Spider-Man for a while, and there was even like some animatics being put together, some storyboards being put together, and things like that. This goes into the long list, though, of like what might have been stories in Hollywood, right? I mean, we've talked before on this show about how Harrison Ford wasn't supposed to be Indiana Jones. It was supposed to be Tom Selleck. He was cast. He was supposed to be in it. Everything was great. And then he got a call to go and do this little Magnum PI TV show, and the rest was history. The Matrix, right? Keanu Reeves was not supposed to be Neo. That was Will Smith. He had the role, he was cast, all that kind of stuff. Something happened, and now it's something else. Jamie Foxx was not supposed to be Django. It was supposed to be a Will Smith role. Some stuff happened. The Hollywood is filled with these types of stories about what might have been and whatevers. One with the name Cameron combined with the name Spider-Man is saliva generating. I mean, that just makes your mouth water. But would it have really been better? I'm not sure, because remember, this is a story that would have happened a few years prior to Raimi's Spider-Man. So we wouldn't have quite had the visual effects technology that Raimi had then when he made his. But Raimi gave us great, at least 2 out of the 3. He gave us a couple of great Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man 2, to this day, ranks, I believe, in the top 5 of the greatest comic book movies ever made. And the first Spider-Man is no slouch on its own. That's a great movie, too. So it would have been a different story if, like, Raimi's Spider-Man movies were like the first 2 Fantastic Four movies, where they were just trash and everybody hated them. And then we go, if only James Cameron had gotten it. But that's not the case here. We got great Spider-Man movies anyway. They were made a little bit later than Cameron's would have been. So I think history played out the way it should have been played out. Jonathan, were you able to find anything on that?
A little bit, but it seems like he really wasn't going off the comic book. Like it was canon. He actually even had Spider-Man named Boyd instead of Peter Parker. So,
but he did have the rights to do it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh boy. These new kids that they're looking at for the new Spider-Man, Asa Butterfield being one of them, they just look so young. I don't even think high school age. They look like 6th graders to me. And being so young and kind of planning with them to do these, movies for however many years, they're going to get big after they already are big even just by talking about it with all the news that's happening. After a couple films, what if they just don't want to be Spider-Man anymore? What if they're like on their high horse and they're getting all these different offers from all these other movies and they want to, go and kind of experiment with other things?
Well, because what Sony is going to do, and first of all, whenever you see the lineup of these guys, and by the way, we joke about how these guys look like they're 7 years old and stuff like that. Asa Butterfield, from what I understand, is actually like 5'10".
Oh, no way. He looks, oh my gosh, he looks a little meeper.
He looks like you want to hand him a candy.
Oh my gosh, here.
Like, and when I see the cast lineup, because we've used on AMC Movie Talk before, like a graphic that shows all the guys who are currently screen testing in Atlanta, right? All I can hear in my head is, and forgive me for those of you who aren't Canadian or maybe don't know the band. If you know the band, the Bare Naked Ladies, all I can hear in my head when I see that lineup is, this is me in grade 9, baby. Yeah, this is me in grade 9. That's all I hear in my head when I see these guys. It's like, oh, I just want to pat them on the head, these little guys. Well, but here's the thing. As far as your worry goes, what Sony is going to do, because I think part of the reason Sony and Marvel want to go young is because they now have plans for this Spider-Man to be around for a long, long time. They want this Spider-Man to be the new Hugh Jackman. Jackman playing Wolverine for 15 years or 13 years, whatever it's been. I think that's what they want for this new Spider-Man. So part of all this is going to be, okay, kid, you want to be Spider-Man, or talking to his parents or talking to his agent or whatever, you got to sign this thing that says you're going to appear for no less than 12 films. whenever we call you to appear, you're going to be in these
That's
films.
so intense to be
It
so
is
young.
so intense because you are so young and all that kind of stuff. And it could really, but then again, you're set for
I know, right?
life.
That's so tough. I have to be Spider-Man for the
Poor
rest
Asa
of my life.
Butterfield trapped in this contract, paying him millions of dollars. Yeah, I mean, it's just, so they're going to lock whoever their talent is. And it's not like Asa's 12 years old. Like he's like 18 years old now, I think.
Oh my gosh. Why do I think he looks so young?
Actually, let's get fact checker John.
He is 18.
He is 18 years old.
As of April.
You're ahead of the game already. Look at that. He's Asa Butterfield is 18 years old, so it's not like he's some 12-year-old.
That's how I'm picturing. I'm picturing literally a 12-year-old.
Because he's got the damn baby face.
He does.
He's got,
okay.
But that could work in their favor, you know. And so he's at that age that he can be Spider-Man for the next 15 years if they want him to be. He can grow into the role, but you bet your bottom dollar that Sony and Marvel are going to make whoever they pick sign a very long-term deal. And if they don't want that deal, they'll let the kid walk. Look, they let, the reports are that the reason things fell apart with Joaquin Phoenix playing Doctor Strange was because Joaquin was like, I don't know if I want to sign like a 5-picture deal. Marvel's like, then hit the road, Jack. Like you're a great name, you're a big talent, that's great, but consistency is more important to us. So if you don't want to sign a 5-film deal, hit the bricks.
Wow.
And so they will do that with an 18-year-old kid. Like, hey, you got a great name, Asa Butterfield or Tom whatever, Hollandfield, or I can't remember the name of the other kid who's like one of the front runners right now. If they're not willing to sign, probably it ain't going to be a 5-film deal. It's going to be a 9, 10, 11 film deal. They're going to make this kid sign.
I bet.
And if they don't want to do it, then they're going to say, all right, we got 5,000 other actors who want to line up and play it.
All right, Ronnie Chow writes, longtime listener, I hear a lot about actors that want to play a certain role but don't. I wanted to know if any actor that has campaigned for a role actually gotten the role that they were campaigning for. Could this actually work for them?
Yeah, I mean, everybody recently remembers, I thought it was very sad. Tyrese Gibson was getting on Twitter and Facebook and trying to make his case publicly, like with pictures of himself photoshopped as Jon Stewart Green Lantern. He's like, hey guys, come on, make me Green Lantern. I really want this, blah, blah, blah. It's like, to me, that smells pathetic.
That's
and
awkward.
I like Tyrese.
Really
I do.
awkward.
Yeah, it is. It's very awkward. But I really like him as a personality, as a performer. I get a kick out of him when I see him on screen, but that felt sad. And we've seen this happen a couple of times. But there is one infamous case where it worked. Samuel L. Jackson getting on the late night talk show and saying, George Lucas, I want to be in this new Star Wars movie you're making and blah, blah, blah. And he publicly campaigned that he wanted to be in that movie. And he's Mace Windu now. So they put him in the movie. Give me a purple lightsaber, Emma. I'm not going to say what the rest of he's going to say. But, and he's in there. One of the great actors right now, one of the most prolific actors of our generation, got himself into Star Wars by doing a public campaign. I think that has made several other actors since go, well, hey, it worked once. At least keep trying it. But I can't think off the top of my head. Dennis or Jonathan, can you guys think of anything off the top of your head, any situation where a guy went out and publicly tried to campaign for a role and then it actually worked for them?
Usually backfires.
Not successfully, no. So I don't think so, and I don't think it ever will, nor should it. If I'm a Hollywood producer, actually, even if I'm thinking about, so let's say I'm thinking about putting Chris Pine in as, I don't know, the new Monkey Man, right? And I'm thinking about Chris Pine just by myself in my den as I'm working. I think, oh man, Chris Pine might be good for this. But then I see on Facebook Chris Pine going, "Hey, put me in Monkey Man." Then I'm like, forget it, you're out.
Really?
Oh, I totally would. I would just go, forget it. If you're gonna do that, then I don't want to deal with the type of drama you might bring to me.
Hard to get John Campea.
Yeah, that's right. That's what all the girls said.
Do you think that would only work for kind of a big name actor, like a working actor that some people know, but isn't a hot, like Samuel L. Jackson? That's a name that everyone knows. Do you think it would work for kind of a smaller actor?
I don't think it would work for anybody today.
Anybody.
The only one I can see it working for is Daniel Day-Lewis. Because he does so few films and everybody wants him in any movie. I mean, if they were making a Richie Rich movie right now and Daniel Day-Lewis came out of his little shoe cobbling hut and said, I want to play Richie Rich. They were like, all right, it's Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, if he wants to be Richie Rich, he's Richie Rich, and he'll probably win an Academy Award for it. But other than that, I just don't think it would work for anybody right now. I mean, it's hard to imagine. Like maybe him, maybe The Rock. But even The Rock, I don't
The
think
Rock,
so.
okay.
I don't think it would work for George Clooney. I don't think it would work for Brad Pitt. I don't think it would work for any of these guys right now.
Interesting. Okay, that was our last question for the day. Thanks so much, guys, for joining us. Just a reminder, lots of great movies being shown in AMC theaters today. So go ahead and head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theaters, your show times, and your ticket information. And if you want a podcast version of this episode, check out the description box below and make sure to click that subscribe button. Thanks to the guys in the room, Dennis and Jonathan, and thanks to John. John, where can people find you online?
You guys can follow and subscribe to me on all the various different sites, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, and on Twitter, all at John Campia.
And you guys can find me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will catch you guys tomorrow. Bye.